Dear all, welcome back to the class of International Economics. In the last few classes, we were discussing what is free trade, what is protectionism, and what are the different measures which is adopted for protectionism. So even though in the theoretical manner we have said that the free trade is a good option for most of the countries, but practically the countries are not following absolute free trade. But at the same time, most of the countries are following some kind of economic integration as a substitute for free trade. So today we are discussing what is economic integration, or we can say some kind of regionalism. Okay, what is economic integration and what are the different kinds of economic integration? So we will be discussing in this video. So firstly, there are two things to be discussed. Firstly, economic integration, what is it and what are the possibilities? There are different possibilities which exist in the world now, like WTO, European Union, NAFTA, ASEAN. So we will be discussing this also. But firstly, we will be going to the what is economic integration. What is economic integration? Economic integration is the unification of distinct economies into a single larger economies. As all of you know, each nation, each state has their own boundaries and their own currencies, their own economic and political system. But along with that, if that country wants to make an association with other countries, if different countries are creating some kind of association, and if they are ready to remove the barriers for international trade among them, that is called as economic integration. It is one kind of unification of different countries. So we can define the economic integration as this: the commercial policy of discriminatively reducing or eliminating the barriers only among the nations joining together. So few nations are coming together or joining together, and they are ready to remove the trade barriers among themselves. So that association or that unification is known as economic integration. So here the commercial policy of discriminatively reducing or eliminating, it can be reduce the trade barriers or it can be eliminate the trade barriers, but only among the members. So this is known as economic integration. So this discrimination, when we are saying that there is a discrimination among the nations, there might be in two ways. It might be discrimination between the countries or among the countries, or discrimination based on commodities. Suppose that few countries have joined together and they are reducing the barriers, they are reducing or eliminating the barriers among the members. So it is a discrimination on the basis of countries, because some countries have joined, so they are reducing the barriers among themselves. So it is a discrimination based on countries. But there might be discrimination based on commodities. Suppose that some commodities might be imposed high tariff on some of the products, but there might be some of other product which does not have any tariff barriers. So it is it is also possible discrimination based on commodities. Suppose that one input which is an essential for an which is an essential to promote the domestic production. So there is a possibility to remove all the barriers for that kind of inputs. At the same time, there is a possibility to impose high tariff on particular commodity like gold or any other luxurious items. So discrimination is possible according to different commodities and also according to different countries. So ultimately, this economic integration, it promotes free trades, but not with all the countries, but among the members. It promotes free trade, and it promotes to remove barriers, and also it promotes to start a common external tariff with other non-members. So the members won't be having any barrier or reduce the barrier, and they may follow some kind of common external tariff with the non-members. So this is generally known as economic integration. So there are so many benefits or rationale for, or we can say objectives for this economic integration. So what is the main purpose of this economic integration? There are so many advantages through the economic integration. Firstly, there will be economies of scale, because there will be a division of labor, and there will be specialization, and in each country will specialized in some commodities. Okay, so there will be economies of scale, and there will be international specialization, and there will be qualitative improvement in output because of this specialization, and expansion of output. Okay, so improvement in terms of trade, you know what it is. Then there will be improvement in terms of trade because of it will increase the bargaining power of few countries who combine together or who join together, and increase in the economic efficiency, improvement in the living standard of the people through the high high trade creation. Then the better distribution of resources. So each countries will be specialized in some of the products or commodities. So better distribution of resources, and increase in factor mobility, and uniform economic policies. So these are the different benefits, or we can say rationale for economic integration. Okay, so what are the different forms of economic integration? Economic integration might be in two ways. One can be said as regionalism, and another one is multilateralism. Okay, as you know, after the Second World War, all the countries started to reduce the tariff barriers among themselves. Okay, and also some countries started introducing like non-tariff barriers. So in this time, the countries followed two approaches mainly. Firstly, some of the countries joined together, and nations form a regional trading agreement with by joining some of the countries, and started lowering the barriers to trade with the group. It is known as regionalism. Okay, so some of the countries joined together, and they started to reduce the trade barriers, especially tariff barriers. They started to reduce it or eliminate among the members, and they started making an association, forming an association among themselves. It is known as regionalism. Okay, and there are some other countries, they started reducing the trade barriers on a non-discriminatory basis. Okay, as per the rule of GATT and WTO, mostly all the countries, not few, but all the countries started to reduce the trade barriers with all the nations without any discrimination. So it is known as, it is on the basis of on the rules and regulations of GATT and also WTO. Okay, it is known as multilateralism. So these are the two economic integration. One is regionalism, making some kind of a local regional groups to create the trade, and second one is multilateralism, which is a little bit more advanced or more widened, which is also on non-discriminatory basis with all the countries. Okay, so these were the two possibilities, especially after the Second World War. So we are checking what are the different forms of economic integration. So these are the 6 forms of economic integration. Firstly, preferential trade area or association. Okay, then secondly, free trade area, and thirdly, customs union, then common market, economic union, and finally political union. So the first one is the preferential trade area is the loose form of economic integration. In the picture you can see that when we are moving to the political union, so the form of integration among the countries have increased. So I'll be discussing each one, what is preferential trade area, then we will be going one by one. Firstly, we can go to the preferential trade area or association. So it is the loose form of economic integration. Okay, what is the criteria for this? So a few members, few countries are joining together or forming an association, and the barriers for international trade are lowered on trade. So some countries are joining together and they are lowering the barriers for trade, not eliminating, but they are lowering compared to other countries, or they are reducing the trade barriers among the members only, not with all the countries. Among the members, they are reducing the barriers. So one example for this, we can say that Commonwealth system of preferences, which Britain has. Britain was continue this preferential trade association with all the colonies in 1932. So while they are trading with the colonies, the tariff and other barriers were lowered or reduced. That's it, not exactly removed. Okay, and it was also only in between the members the barriers were reduced. So this is known as preferential trade area or association, which means there will be preference among the members. If they are importing from the member country, so they will give some kind of preferential treatment for them. So the trade barrier will be reduced for them. Then secondly, a free trade area. This is little bit more common than preferential trade area. Here all the few countries are joining together and forming an association, and all the barriers among the members are removed. There won't be any trade barrier among the member countries, whether it is tariff or non-tariff. All the barriers will be removed among the members. Plus, the nations retain its own barrier within non-members. So each country will have some kind of trade or non-tariff barriers with the non-members or other countries, and when we are coming together, they will be removing all the barriers among the members. So this is known as free trade area. So there are a few examples also for this. Latin American Free Trade Association, which is also known as LAFTA. It was formed in 1961 by 10 Latin American countries. So this is also example of free trade area. And Japan-Singapore FTA, Free Trade Area, which is formed in 2004. Then FTA, 1960, European Free Trade Association between Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Norway, Portugal, Switzerland and UK. Then later on Finland and Iceland also joined. But it was removed, or this association was declined when UK and Denmark withdrew in 1977 and Portugal in 1986 to join European Community. So after the European Union, so this association was collapsed. But this is also an example of a free trade area. So they have removed all the barriers among the members, and each country can retain their own barriers with the non-members. Then NAFTA. NAFTA is North American Free Trade Agreement between US, Canada and Mexico, and it was started in 1993, and it is now they have changed their name. We will go into the detail later. Then ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and it was formed in 1967 by Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore and Thailand. Then the organization membership has expanded to include Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam. So all these countries are part of this. So these all are the examples of free trade area. Then thirdly, customs union. Here in the customs union also, few countries are coming together and they are forming an association. As in the free trade area, they are removing all the trade barriers among the nations, and there will be a common external tariff against non-members. In the free trade area, there was no any common tariff among the non-members. Each country can retain their own tariff or non-tariff barriers with the non-members. But here in the customs union, all the countries will have a common external tariff with or against non-members. So this is a little bit more advanced form of customs union, and it is more practical, which exists largely. So it was the theory of customs union was developed by Jacob Wiener, and there are few ideas, few theories like how the trade creation, trade diversion through the customs union, but it is a advanced topic we will be discussing in the future. Okay, so here there is a FTA, or among the members no barriers. With non-members there is a external common external tariff, common external tariff with the non-members. Okay, so example for this European Economic Community, which formed in 1957, West Germany, France, Italy, Belgium, Netherland, Luxembourg, but later on it came to known as European Union as we know. So this is also an example of customs union. Then there is another association, Mercosur. It was formed in 1991. Its members are Argentina, Brazil, Portugal and Uruguay. Then later on Bolivia, Chile, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, then Suriname. Then observer countries were New Zealand and Mexico. Then Venezuela was a full member but has been suspended since 2016. So this is about the Mercosur. It was also an example of customs union. Then the fourth one is common market. Common market means customs union plus free flow of labor and capital. In customs union, we know that among the members there is no any trade barriers, and with the non-members there is a common external tariff. Along with that, there is a free flow of labor and capital between the members. So if all these features are there, we can say that it is a common market. Okay, common market. Okay, so European Common Market, also called as European Economic Community, European Economic Community, which we discussed, also became a European Common Market later. So this is an example of common market. So now the fifth one is Economic Union. Economic Union means common market, which we discussed now, plus monetary and fiscal policies are harmonized. There will be unification of monetary and fiscal policy. Then we will say that it is an economic union. Okay, common market, what are the features? Among the members, no trade barriers. Non-members, there is a common external policy. Then there is a free flow of labor and capital among the members. So these three criteria will be there in common market. Along with that, monetary and fiscal policies are harmonized. There will be same monetary and fiscal policy in all this region or all these countries. Then we can say that it is an economic union. There are few examples for economic union. Firstly, BENELUX, Belgium, Netherland, Luxembourg formed a association in 1948, and it was converted into economic union in 1960. But later on, it was joined in European Union. So this is an example of economic union. And also European Economic Community transformed into an economic union called European Union in 1991. So from 1991 onwards, European Union also became an economic union, we can say. Or exactly we can say after 2000s, so when they have introduced the euro currency, so they completely became an economic union. So here you should understand that there should be monetary and fiscal policy should be harmonized, or same monetary and fiscal policy should be followed by the all the countries. Then only there is a possibility of economic union. So these are the different economic integrations. Okay. Along with that, we might have heard duty-free zones or economic zones. This is very common in most of the countries. But it is not exactly an integration between the countries, but it is a small kind of area which exists in each country. So there might be some economic zones in India itself. What is the peculiarity of these economic zones? That area or that zone is duty-free import of raw materials and intermediate products. So there won't be any tariff for the import of raw materials or intermediate products to that area. So that area also will have some connection with the foreign countries. So that kind of a small association or small integration with a particular region with other countries is known as duty-free zones and also economic zones. So this is very common in most of the countries, and even in India we have economic zones. Okay, then lastly, so this is not the part of economic union, but I'm adding this point because it is most commonly we can see a lot of economic unions, and this is also some kind of economic integration. Then lastly, we can say that the political union, it may not be not exactly economic integration, but integrating the economic and political systems. Then we can say that there is a political union. So along with the one country, when they are becoming economic union, along with that, if they are merging their political system, then we can say that there is a political union. So the European Union is headed towards at least a partial political union, but we cannot say that it's exactly a political union, because the political systems are different in European Union, so we cannot say. But United States if you're considering United States of America as the integration of different states, so we can say that it is an example of political union, because there are different states in the US, United States. So the United States of America is the integration of all these states. Even though it is a one country, we can say that this is an example of political union, or they have the same kind of political systems and economic systems in all the states. We can say that it is a political union. But normally we are considering economic union as the highest form of economic integration. Okay, but when we are considering political system also, then we will say that political union is the highest form of political union, or economic plus political union. Okay, so these are the different kinds of economic integrations. So for the references, I think Rana and Verma will be enough, and some of the examples also given in Dominic Salvatore, it will be useful for you. Thank you very much. We can see in the next video.